Well, the floor is yours, Raul.
All
Please
right.
tell everybody the story and give them the energy that you obviously gave the last time. But I heard it on a video. I didn't talk to you in person. That
Yeah.
was a video, and you pumped me up. So
All
please
right.
start.
Well, let's go. Welcome everybody. I know this is your call. I appreciate you guys having me here. I'm gonna share a screen with you real quick, and I'm gonna go through a 90-minute presentation in about 20 minutes. I'm gonna do my best to do about 20 minutes. I know we don't have what I usually do with what you're about to see is a full webinar. But I'm just gonna show you some basics so you kind of get an idea of who I am, what I teach, and why I teach it, and the whole thing. So let me bring this up. Like I was saying, this is usually a big presentation, but I'm gonna go briefly. So my name is Raul Lopez Jr. I'm happy to be here with you guys this morning. My company is called Tag Talks. Tag Talks, and Tag stands for Transparency, Acceptance, and Growth. And what I inspire all to do is to learn to use your personal story, use your voice to build, know, like, and trust in whatever industry that you're in. And more importantly than that, to use the wisdom you've gained from your personal life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, to help other people improve their life. I tell people all the time, people will pay you for your past to improve their futures. People will pay you for your past to improve their futures because you've been through some fire, right? You've been through some hard times, and now that's wisdom that you've gained. It's not common knowledge; it's wisdom. So that's a little bit about how Tag was founded. Um, Again, my name is Raul Lopez Jr. I put on live in-person events. I put on webinars just like this, and I teach people how to use their voice, how to use their story for all aspects of life. A lot of people that I work with, I get hired on. Like the bottom right-hand corner here is a corporate gig I got. I had a 2-year contract with a brand new launching MLM company. I was their voice, their face for a while. I helped put on their events, and I just helped them grow their company to 7 figures plus in the first year. Stayed there for 2 years, and then kind of moved on to different contracts that I have. These other events you see are mine. Here's some other fun stuff we're doing, just trainings and different stages. And all of this is just based on sharing a personal story. And I'll tell you this right now. I've written 8 books. I have founded this company in 2017, but I had never planned on being an author, a speaker, or a coach. And I'm going to tell you exactly how this all came together for me throughout my life. Here's some more stuff that we do, different stages, just more wonderful people that we're working with. On the top right-hand corner there, that's actually Newport Beach. If a lot of you guys are from Orange County here or Southern California, Newport Beach, I do a lot of trainings in the area. And then after we take our VIPs and we put them on a fun cruise and we just have a good time, enjoying life, working, enjoying life, helping people and changing their lives. Let me go here. Okay, like I said, I'm an author of 8 books. These are my 2 core books that I love to work out of. This is how I started in this industry. Funny enough, the one on the left is the first book I ever wrote. The one on the right is the latest release. The difference in these is the subtitle. And the subtitle of the first one is Learn the Importance of Understanding and Expressing Your Emotions. The subtitle of the second one is Transforming Childhood Trauma with God and Psychology. These books, Heal the Boy and the Man Will Appear, very much so sound like they're for men, but they're for everybody, right? The reason they're titled Heal the Boy and the Man Will Appear is because it's my story. It's my personal story, and that's what happened for me. A lot of childhood trauma, a lot of issues. I'll go over those in just a minute. Wild and crazy life. And when I understood the science of the mind and the body, found God, I was able to understand life happened for me, and not to me. And then I was able to start helping other people and serving other people. Another book series that I have out there, and all of these are on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere you can find good books. I have the Success Leaves Clues book series where I've worked with and interviewed a lot of incredible entrepreneurs, and then people just like you were adding into this book series. And I take their top 10 tips, and I just created this book series. My Tag Talks book series. That Tag Talks is a speaking forum, as I mentioned. A lot of our clients that come through, they are wanting to be author, speakers, and coaches, or they are just learning to understand that they can be author, speakers, and coaches and build more success in their business utilizing their voice. So what we do is a certain level of client that comes in is we take their 20-minute talk that they've done on our stage that we've recorded for them to help promote them, and then we transcribe it and then we edit it from a speech into a readable chapter. We publish their books. When they're done with this, they're author, speakers, and coaches because we help them put their coaching programs together also. The Speaker's Blueprint is another book I've written. Unlock lucrative speaking gigs, everything you need to know how to get paid speaking gigs, working with a lot of different people. As I mentioned earlier, I do my own live in-person events, and then I also different real estate companies. as you guys know, EXP is a big real estate organization, and I've done some corporate meetings for them where they do these big events, and I go out and I speak and I kind of teach people how to use your voice like I'm talking about, but how to be seen as an expert real estate agent, even if you're just 1 or 2 years in with your license. Right now things are a little bit different. They've shifted a little bit in the real estate industry. And I asked a bunch of people, I said, who's doing well right now in the real estate industry? And a couple of things came up: real estate investors, which is wonderful. And then they said, and agents who have been around for a very long time. And I said, okay, so how can you early on, real estate agent, and or just maybe somebody who's been around a while but just isn't understanding, like, why aren't I able to get these deals, these listings? It's using your story, and I'm going to go into that too. Use your story, impact people, and watch them start to come to you. This is at our events. If any of you guys are authors, speakers, or coaches now, we showcase our clients at our events. So everybody sets up their books and their banners, whether they're selling their books or maybe they have a coaching program. We just like to showcase and really promote our clients. My events are tag talks, but they're not about me. They're about you. They're about our clients who come and speak and showcase who they are, why they are, and what they do. My core on my website's tagtalks.org, it says we help people. And that's really what it comes down to, is helping others serve others. Just more fun we have traveling around. As you guys all know, you're entrepreneurs, and when you're set up right and you're speaking right, you can do calls just like this. You can do them from anywhere. So over here on the left, I'm in Cabo, and I'm doing a 5-day training challenge. On the other side, I'm in Cancun, and then we're just flying around San Diego. And we do fun stuff. There's one in the middle on the yacht. That's also in Newport Beach. We do a lot of fun stuff locally. So hopefully we'll all get to meet each other one day and have some fun locally here. I've been blessed. Okay, I've been blessed when I launched this company, because what I do with Tag is a calling that I got, and I'm going to tell you more about that in just a minute. But I've had some incredible people at my events. Tom Bill, you see there, Tim Story. A lot of locals know Tim Story is an incredible man. He's come to my events. I've gone and done some work with him at his events. I've just been really blessed to be in and involved with the people that that have come to me, I should say. David Meltzer, he's another local guy. I was able to co-host his TV show. In fact, this season launched this month, but I think my episode is next month. Just a wonderful time with David. You see here on the right-hand side, that's at the SoFi Stadium, and we're actually doing an event September 10th at the SoFi Stadium, and we're inviting people to come out and either speak, be on a panel, podcast, or just attend. It's going to be a wonderful event of 7-8-figure impact earners that are all there to help and serve each other. Oh, I got to go backstage at the Shark Tank. Anybody watch the Shark Tank, man? It was so fun. I didn't get to pitch, but I got to go backstage. I got to meet all the sharks, and it was just incredible experience. I got to sit on the seats where they sit there, and they tell everybody no, and that whole thing. It was pretty fun. Then Kevin Harrington, another one who's come out to one of my events. This was Patty Stinger. I think she's a local too, right over here in Beverly Hills. She's the matchmaker. This was a paid gig that I got hired to come and speak. This was a huge yacht. We did 200 people on a yacht, and we had a speaking venue in the yacht, and we got to speak and share with Patty. Dan Fleshman, a lot of people know him too. I'm working a deal with him just now on some growth opportunities. Here's how we promote our people. On all our social media, you can see a lot of our clients come in. They learn to share their story, and they want to grow their business. They want to make more money. They want to have an impact on people. And this is just how we create graphics for them. We take pictures of them while they're on our stages, videos, the whole thing. We have a lot of fun. Oh, my little boy. My boy, actually, he's the little guy right here. I love these pictures. When they're little, they have so much character, and they just run around. And this kids inspire me, right? And it's part of this story. When we're kids, we're unbreakable, man. There's no limits. We can do whatever we want. And this picture in the middle there, he's so cool, and he doesn't care how he looks. He's just being cool guy, silly guy, and he's having fun. And I always tell people, remember who you were before society told you who to be, right? Remember who you were. A young, loving child, boy, girl, whatever you are, woman, man, and you just had fun, and you didn't care what people thought, and you were limitless. And then society and the conditioning around us, I'm getting into that, start to beat us up a little bit, and we shift and we change, and we have limiting beliefs, and a lot of things happen to us. So I just love children, and they're the light and the joy. My mother down there, she's my rock. My mother is an incredible young woman. She's not young anymore, but she's my mom. She's about 5'4", incredible woman. Worked very hard raising 3 kids on her own. What else do we got here? Oh, that's my daughter and my two granddaughters there. My daughter, her husband, and my two granddaughters. Oh man, they're incredible. I love them so much. And then at the bottom there is my oldest son with his family, my daughter-in-law and my other two. I have seven grandkids, but here's another two of them. Part of this story with my oldest son, I conceived him when I was 13 years old, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute about my life and what brought me to where we are today, standing here talking to you, hopefully inspiring you to know the power that you have in your life. Where did all of this come from? All of this fun, all of these celebrity working with, and all of these stages and all this stuff. How did I get there? Well, I started here. This was where I came from. This was my life for just about 10 years, in and out in some type of facility. And I'm going to get into that right now. This is San Quentin Prison, one of the most notorious prisons around. I got out of prison when I was 24 years old, after living a wild and crazy 10 plus years. Okay. So I'm gonna take this down. That was a brief, quick synopsis of all that I do now. But it didn't come naturally. It was never planned. According to statistics and this picture right here, I should be right now in prison or dead. That's the statistic of a Hispanic young boy who gets into the system at a very young age. So let me close this down so I can see you all and we can talk a little bit better. There we are. I can see everybody. Beautiful faces. All right. So let's get into storytelling. And the reason I love storytelling is 'cause, like I said, it led to where I am and who I am today and how I inspire people. So what I'm going to do is bullet point my story for you. Like I said, it's usually a big 90-minute presentation. I'm gonna bring it down. But at the age of 7, there was a childhood trauma that I had. I didn't know the things I'm going to talk about to you right now at the time. That's why it led me into such a wild and crazy life. But I go all the way back to zero. When I meet people and I work with people, I go back to zero. I want to know from birth, who are you? What's been happening? Where have you been raised? What is your culture? I want to know everything because that's where we figure out what our limiting beliefs are. And that's how we figure out if we had traumas, if we had things that affect us today, right? So going back, my mother and father met in junior high school. My father went off to war, Vietnam War, and my mother got married. My mother got married and she had two kids. My father came back from Vietnam and he had one. So when they came back together, my father brought one child, my mother brought two, and then together they had me. So it was a wonderful family, his and hers, mix of just incredible fun. I was born and raised in San Jose, California. Anybody Bay Area? I heard somebody say San Francisco. I was born and raised in San Jose, California, back in the 70s. In the 70s, there was no Silicon Valley, there was no Microsoft, there was no Apple. It was actually farmland, right? And that's how my family got to the Bay Area. My grandparents came across from Mexico into Del Rio, Texas, and then from there they would follow the crops. And they landed in Santa Clara County. And then back then there were apricots, cherries, cotton. There was a bunch. It was, like I said, there were orchards and fields, and they just stayed there. They stayed and they started to build family there. And that's how I landed in California itself, our family. And we just stayed. It was a loving place, a small farming town. All of my family on my mother's side was there. All of my family on my father's side was there. And we just had a wonderful young life between the age of 0 and 7 years old. At the age of 7, my mother came home one day. I'm playing in the garage with my father. I was very close with my father. I tell people all the time, like the earth needs the sun. If the sun was to disappear, the earth would no longer be, right? We would all freeze and die, and there'd be some wild and crazy stuff. So I always tell people that that was mine and my father's connection, right? That was our relationship. Like I was just very close, daddy's boy, close to my father, with him every single day, all day playing, follow him everywhere he'd went, and I'd hide in his car sometimes. And when he was in college, and he'd find me in the back seat, and oh, what are you doing in the car? And he'd have to take me into class, and just really, really, really close to my father. At the age of 7, my mother comes home one day and she says, "Son, get in the car. We're going to go for a ride." And I said, "Okay, no big deal. All of our families around, we always get in the car and we always go for a ride." But this time was different. It shifted my entire life. My directory, my childhood ended that day. She put me on a plane. She flew me to Alaska. It was interesting time, fun. We got on a plane, we got to Alaska, all this snow. Just a little kid watching, seeing, observing, having a lot of fun. Next morning, I got up and I said, "Hey, mommy." I looked up and I said, "Where's my daddy?" And she looked down at me. And this is where my life completely shifted. She said, "Son, don't worry about your dad. You're not going to see him again." And the confusion, the brokenness, the sadness, the pain, the anxiety, the depression, all of these things kicked in. Hormones, these negative hormones were kicking into my body, and I literally shivered and shifted. At the age of 7, we don't understand emotions. That's why the title of my first book is Learn the Importance of Understanding and Expressing Your Emotions. Did you know that emotions are energy? Emotions are energy, emotion, energy in motion, right? So people who have anxiety is because they're carrying a lot of different emotions. People get depression because they're suppressing, right? So energy in motion. When I started to have these feelings, I didn't understand what they were. Now, to explain that, if you have a child, a grandchild, you have a favorite baseball, basketball team, whatever it is, and they score, you celebrate, right? You're like, yeah, and you celebrate. Very easy to express positive energy, right? It's almost impossible not to. If you have a little baby boy or a beautiful daughter and they score, they do something incredible, you're going to celebrate. It would be almost impossible to sit there like this and, oh, good job. You know what I mean? Like you couldn't do that. You're going to celebrate. You're going to express that emotion. Now, here's the challenge. When we have something negative happens to us, most of the time we hold that in, right? Somebody says something, somebody does something, we just hold it in, like, oh, this guy got me pissed off, whatever it happened, and we suppress it. What happens when you suppress any type of energy? At some point, it's going to explode, right? When you suppress energy, at some point, it's going to explode. That's why people are so quick to anger, right? I teach a lot of this, and I'll kind of help you understand. A lot, people get so quick to anger because they're suppressing so much of this energy and they're holding it in to a point where they don't even realize they're holding it in anymore, and they're to hear. And if somebody passes them on the road or somebody says something or little things happen, they just go crazy. And they start flipping people off and angry and yelling and screaming. And on social media, how many times do you see people just arguing on Facebook? And it's just like they don't even know each other. Like you don't even know this person. I've seen people have gone off on me on Facebook. I'm like, why are you so angry? Like, I don't understand why you're so angry about something very simple, like very basic. And honestly, because I've learned and grown through this stuff, a lot of self-awareness work, a lot of self-development work, I feel sorry for people. I feel bad, in an empathetic way. I feel bad for people who get so angry so quickly and they can't control it, because I just feel like, man, it's too bad. It's like that you don't understand that you can release that in another way, and then you can be happy. And that somebody can, we choose to be offended. Somebody could say something to you and it doesn't have to bother you, right? If I looked at one of you guys and I said, hey, you're a pizza. And you'd be like, I got pizza, you're stupid. Like, what do you mean I'm pizza? Right? But if I called you a certain name that maybe in your upbringing was a bad word, you get pissed off, right? And I would say, well, are you a pizza? No. Are you the word that I just said? No. Then why does one get you mad and the other doesn't? Right? Talk about psychological conditioning and growing up in the environments that we're in, of our live events. I'll tell you about our live personal events we have coming up in just a minute. Anyhow, so at the age of 7, basically my childhood ended. I started crying. I went into this depression that I didn't know at the time. And I would cry every day before I went to school, or walking into school even, right? And every time it was like a gauntlet. When I would walk through the gate at my elementary school, I would be crying, right? Just every morning I was emotionally broken, and kids started to make fun of me, right? Kids make fun of other kids, especially if there's something wrong with them, they're crying, whatever it is, they want to pick on them. And a day came where I walked through that chain link fence and I looked at these kids. And in my heart, in my mind, in my brain, in my whole body, my soul, I said, I'm never going to cry again. And no one's ever going to laugh at me again. And I became very full of rage. And I fought for many, many years after that. Um, Trying to reduce the story, we did end up coming back to San Jose, California. I did get to see my father, but I realized why my mother left him, right? He was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. He was selling drugs, and he put our family in danger. He put our family in danger. And I learned that over the years, as I didn't get to see him because he would very sporadically come around. But I learned that my mother she was trying to save us by taking us from and moving to another state because of the lifestyle I was living, right? People would come to our house and they'd go to my mother's business and they would take her money, saying, your husband owes me money. And they would take her cash register and everything else. I didn't know that at the age of 7, right? All I knew was I loved my daddy, and I'm this close to him, and now he's out of my life. But as I grew up, I understood like why she did it. She was trying to save us. It didn't help being a 7-year-old boy and did not understanding my emotions and not really able to comprehend all of that. So by the age of 9, I was doing drugs. just being lost in this fog, this emotional brokenness. At the age of 13, I had showed you my boy. He's 40 years old. He just turned 40 years old. Um, at the age of 13, we conceived my first son. And then at the age of 14, I got incarcerated. And from the age of 14 until I was 24, I was in some form of a facility. At the age of 15, I was made, I think 15, 16 around there, I was made a ward of the court. I remember sitting in court by myself, district attorney on the other side looking at the judge. And the district attorney was just like ripping me apart. I'm just, I'm very young at the time, and I am lost, and I'm doing a lot of dumb stuff. But we receive what people say to us or about us, right? We receive it. And he's just telling the judge, this kid is a menace to society. It's an actual title that they give kids when they make you a ward of the court and take you from your parents. This kid is a menace to society. His parents cannot control him. He's been arrested this many times. He does this, he does that. And he's just like ripping me apart. And they made me a ward of the court. So I spent the majority of those next 10 years in some type of facility, ending up in San Quentin prison. Living in a darkness, living in a fog, not understanding, just something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. And I always asked myself three questions throughout those years. Why do I do what I do? Why do I act the way that I act? And why do I feel the way that I feel? Because I did a lot of dumb things, right? Got incarcerated all the time. I acted like I was cool, right? I got into the gangs and all that stuff. I was just a cool guy, but I felt like I was broken. There was something wrong. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know I had childhood trauma. I had no idea I'd been so affected by being taken from my father, and the confusion, the depression, the anxiety, all of the emotions that I mentioned. So I was just living in this fog, out on the streets all the time, or incarcerated in some type of facility. When I got to prison, I started to know. I had visions. I would have these visions throughout my whole life. I would have these visions, and I didn't know they were God at the time. But I'd have these visions, and God would show me different things about life and different ways of living. And so I had this inclination internally. There's more to life than what you're living. There's more to life than what you're living. And that just kept coming to me, right? There's more to life than what you're living. So I started telling myself, there has to be more to life than this. Everybody I know is incarcerated. Everybody I know is doing dumb things. Everybody I know, the culture, the subculture that I was in, the people you hang around, right? I didn't know this at the time. The 5 people you hang around is who you are. Everybody knows that, right? I hope you guys know that. 5 people we hang around is who we are. Got a bunch of really awesome people here. I'm sure you guys are all very successful and continuing to grow, and you're here this morning on this call. Got out of prison, and I told my parole officer, I need to move. This is before I started any self-development. I need to move, because if I don't, I'm going to end up right back in prison. The last 10 years, I've just been in and out, and I want to change my life. I know there's something more. And he said, you can't leave this county. You're on parole for 3 years. He says, but, because I told my mother had bought this big property way up north. She bought a property, and she had a unit on the side that she was going to rent out. And I said, I want to move there. Let me go move there. She said, you can, if you can get here. So the parole officer said, I had to go to that county and ask if they'll accept me on parole there. So I said, okay, set up the appointment. So I went and I sat there with this parole officer, and he just, back then I was that type of guy, right? I had been incarcerated since 14 through prison. So I had that mentality. That was my subculture, I called it. I thought I was cool and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So at the time I didn't like the parole officer, right? It was like the authority figure, right? And he was telling me all these things and giving me all these rules. And I'm just trying to not roll my eyes and be like, oh, screw you, because I did want to change my life. But what he told me is, you can come and live in my county if you go to college. By this time, I'm 25. I hadn't even graduated from high school based on my life I'd been living for all those years. And I said, okay, I'll do it, right? I made a decision to change. And I think this is what Angel was talking about, is when we make a true decision, we don't look back. When we make a true decision, we go forward and we do anything and everything we have to do. At the time, looking back, it was a minute thing, but it was huge for me living the lifestyle I was. I had to sit there and listen to this parole officer rip on me, tell me what I can and can't do. And, you can't have a toy orange plastic gun, and you can't have this, and you can't go to this neighborhood, and you can't hang out with this person. Just tell me what to do. And being in that lifestyle, if you know somebody, if you've ever been in that lifestyle, it's very hard to take orders, right? It's like, it's a pride thing. It's a subculture. And he's telling me all these things I have to do. And he said, you got to go to college. But I'm like, okay, do it. I made a decision, and nothing was going to stop me. So I go to the local college, and I go, hey, it's at Santa Rosa Junior College. I had moved to that area. And I said, I need to take a class here. And I asked somebody when I walked in, and they said, well, go to the administration building. Like I said, I knew nothing about school. I didn't know what an AA degree was. I didn't know what a bachelor's degree, a master's, a PhD. I didn't know the order. I knew nothing. barely went to school in my life. And they said, go to administration. Like, what is administration? What does that mean? And they said, that's where you sign up for a class. So I went, administration. I said, I need to take a class there. They said, well, did you graduate from high school? And I said, no. And they said, well, you got to take an assessment. So I took an assessment, and they almost laughed at me when I was done with this. Like, dude, you're not even close to ready for college courses. And I said, I need to go to school here. I was determined. When you're determined to do something, you make it happen. Okay. You all made decisions in your life. You all decided to get in the real estate industry. You all are here on this call this morning. Everything you do each day, you're making a decision. Okay. Why do I act the way that I act, and why do I feel that way that I feel? More importantly, or just as important as any of those, why don't you do the things you want to do? There are things that you should be doing every day to improve your life, your business, your relationships, all of that, and you don't do them. There are times you should be getting up. There are times you should be making that call. There are times you should be out at that networking meeting, and you don't do it. Why? There are reasons for everything we do, act, feel, don't do, react to. Psychological conditioning. I'll get into that in just a second. So I said, I need to go to school here. I was determined. There was no shift. There was no, oh, I can't. Oh, man, I'm going to give up. I'm going to go back and do parole over there. I got to go to school here. What do I got to do? Tell me, look at me. What do I got to do? He said, well, we do have this little trailer on the side of the school. And he goes, you can go there and you can get your general education, your GED. And then after that, you can come take college courses. And I said, if I go to work, I go to school in that little trailer on the side of this college, well, let's say I go to school here. And he said, yeah. And I said, okay, great. Sign me up. So I take that paper. It says Santa Rosa Junior College on it, but then it says, about getting my GED thing. So I take it to the parole officer and I show him and I go, here, I'm signed up. And he goes, okay, you can move into my county. So I packed up, I moved. I was about 150, 200 miles away. And I started going to school. It took me 2 years to get my high school equivalency. I could have given up many times. I could have given up many times, but I made a decision and I knew there was something more. And it was such a battle coming out of prison for all those years to not go back. Institutionalization is a real thing, right? And I went to school every day, Finally got my general education. I think I got a high school equivalency, and then I started taking college courses. And they said, hey, what do you want to do now? I said, I don't know. What am I supposed to do now? They said, well, you can get your AA degree. You can get a certain amount of credits to go get your bachelor's degree. And they're telling me all these things you can do. And I really said, I don't know. Just take me some general education classes. That's what he said. And I said, okay. They said, okay. General education, college, general education. You have to take Psychology 101. That's one of the courses in the line that they give you. Psychology 101. Psychology 101. Remember I told you when I was 7 and my mother said that to me, then it just shifted me and changed my life. It took me off path. Completely shifted the direction of my life. My childhood ended that day. Psychology 101 put me on another path. It shifted me again. I understood. I'm taking Psychology 101. I'm reading the books about this thing, if anybody's ever taken Psychology 101, and I'm reading the book, and it answered those 3 questions exactly. If this happened to you as a child, you may do things like this. If this happened to you as a child, you may act like this. If this happened to you as a child, you may feel like this. And I was shocked. I was shocked that the exact questions I'd been asking were answered exactly in this book. And 2 things came to me. One, holy crap, there are answers to these questions I've been asking my whole life. There are answers. I never told anybody I was asking those questions. I was shocked. I would seclude myself in why? And I was excited. Oh my God, there's an answer to these questions. The second thing is, if there's answers to these questions are in this book that everybody that goes to college has to take, I'm not the only one who feels this way. There are millions of people who ask those same questions. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. My whole life, I'm being lost and in a fog, and there's answers. So I got off GE. I got off the path they put me on, and I started just studying any type of psychology, neuroscience, genetics, biology. I started studying every science of the mind and body that I could find, all the way to Stanford University. I never got a degree, but I studied everything that I wanted to study and that I needed to learn for me. When I got to Stanford, when I went to Stanford, I looked up where is the best psychology in the world? Where can I study? I want to learn everything. And it came up, I did the research. This is a long time ago. This was in the was no internet. The internet started in the 90s. And I don't know if any of you guys remember when the internet first started. And you click on a page and then you walk away. It take like 5 minutes to load. And then it'd load. Then you look at the page, you get what you want, and you click it again, and then you'd walk away and you come back 5 minutes later and it would load again. But I did the research and I found that Stanford had the best psychology. So I went there and I said, hey, I want to go to school here. And they said, where's your transcripts? And by this time I knew what transcripts were and everything else. I'd been going to, school for a while. And I took my transcript. I had all these transcripts, all these units, but they were not structured in any way. They were just what I wanted to learn. And they said, well, you can't transfer here. And I said, why? Again, I'm determined. Okay. Don't let anything stop you from what you want. It doesn't matter. Don't let people tell you you can't. Don't let people tell you you can't. It's because they couldn't, right? It's because they couldn't. You can. It doesn't matter. I said, I got to go to school here. They said, well, you can't transfer these units. I said, what I got to do? And they said, listen, you do have enough units where you qualify for what we call continuing studies here at Stanford in the psychology area. And I said, okay, what does that mean? And they said, well, you have to pay for it out of your pocket and you can get Stanford credits, but you just can't get a degree here because you don't have what you need to transfer as a regular student. And I said, I'll do it. I'll take it. So I started studying at Stanford and just continue to grow and understand who I was, why I was. I figured it all out. I had all the questions answered. I knew the science of the mind and the body. And I was like, oh my goodness, I understand what happened when I was 7 and all these things. And wow, look at this, look at the understanding. But there was still something wrong. There was still something wrong internally. Is there something inside of you that's just like, man, what is this? Why don't I take action? Why don't I do what I want? Why do I have such a hard time with my spouse or my relationship or my kids, my job, my business? What is happening? What is stopping me? I had a brick wall for many, many years in my life. There was this brick. I could see this brick wall. Anytime I tried to have success, I would hit the wall, hit the wall, hit the wall all the time. And I was trying to figure it out. When I figured all that stuff out, and there was still something wrong, is when I started to get called from God. And God had been calling me my whole life. Like I said, I didn't know it was God. The visions that I would see and all these things. And I do these live events. I have 2 events coming up, September 10th and September 20th. One in SoFi Stadium and one here in Newport Beach, Orange County. And I go through this stuff in detail. And we teach and we train business and life, and we have a lot of fun. But I started to get called to go to church. So I started going to church, and I met this incredible pastor. And he said, Raul, hug me. He would just hug me. And I was really uncomfortable, but he would hug me because he knew I was uncomfortable until I started to just be okay with being hugged by a man. And he said, Raul, come to church. Keep coming back. And he said, learn to quiet your mind and soak in prayer. Did you know you can quiet your mind? I hope so. I didn't know that because my mind used to do this nonstop. And it was always negative because the life I had been living for so many years, I did a lot of dumb stuff. So when I would wake up in the morning, the first thing my mind would be doing is, what happened last night? What did I do? Am I going to get in trouble? Am I in jail? Sometimes before I would even open my eyes, sleeping, I would try to remember, where am I? Am I in prison? Am I on the street somewhere? Like, where am I? And I would open my eyes, and I'd look around. And so many times I had just incredible dreams, and I'd wake up and I'd be, I'm in prison behind these bars, But our mind never stops. And mine was always negative. Always negative. From the second I'd become conscious, my mind would start running until I tried to fall asleep. My mind would run. He said, quiet your mind and soak in prayer. I had no idea you can quiet your mind. I have control over my brain. I could think the thoughts I want to think. I can think happy. I can think success instead of darkness, pain, concern, lack. Yes, you can choose. It took me a long time. I had to practice meditating. Took me time to do it. I teach how to do that too, if you didn't know. It took me time. What I learned is that when I'm praying, I'm talking to God. And when I'm soaking, when I'm meditating, I'm listening. And God will speak to you. God will speak to you. He will answer the questions in your heart. Even the questions you may not be asking. He'll answer what your heart is asking, like why, what? He will answer. So I had this miraculous experience. I'm going to close with this, and then we can get into some questions and things. But I had this miraculous experience, and I learned to quiet my mind and soak in prayer. And over the years, I didn't mention this, but over the years, this wall I was telling you about that I would hit, I used to see a lot of psychiatrists, right? A lot of therapists for my own stuff, trying to heal, trying to grow. As I was studying all these things, I was still seeing therapists and psychologists and all of this stuff and these people. And I got to work with Chloe Madonis. She's a world-renowned psychotherapist. She works with Tony Robbins. I went through some Tony Robbins coaching programs for myself to learn. I got certified, but I went for me to learn about me. And I got to work with Chloe. And I told her, like, I have this wall, man, and I can't get past this wall. I don't know what's going on. And she's and it was interesting as I did this work, right? This wall would get smaller and smaller in my life, and you know when I could see it. And she said, what is on the other side of the wall? This block that you have. And I remember just like kind of doing this, even though it's not a real wall, and I would kind of do this. And I said, there's freedom. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I don't know. You asked me what's on the other side of the wall. And when I look over it, I see a beautiful field, trees way out, purple blue sky. And I look and I said, I just sense freedom. And she's like, well, can you put a ladder on the wall and climb over it? And I said, I can see the ladder, right? We're doing this process. I can see the ladder, but I can't get on it. So can you picture a door on the wall and open the door and walk through? And I'm closing my eyes. We're doing this work and I can see the door. I go, but it's locked. I can't get through it. It's locked. And we went through some processes, never was able to get rid of the wall. One day I'm soaking in prayer, meditating. And the next thing I know, I'm standing in this field. The wall is gone. And I'm standing there. And I appear there, like I'm standing right here right now. I appear in this field. And I'm looking around. I'm like, oh my God, the wall is gone. And I was so excited. Like the wall is gone. My entire life, I've been doing all this work with God and psychology and all this training, and this wall is gone. And I went to take a step and I couldn't move. I tried again, tried to take a step and I couldn't move. And I'm like, now the wall's gone and I'm stuck here. What's happening? Then all of a sudden I'm prompted to look over to my left, and I look and I see this little boy, and he's 7 years old. And I see him, and it's me when I was 7. And my first inclination was anger. I was mad. I looked at him and I said, you're my wall? You've been holding me here for all of these years? Why? And this little boy just looked at me, and he's very peaceful and calm. And he said, I'm not holding you here. You're holding me here. And man, I just got this energy just came over me from God, from above, and just this wave of like understanding of information of my whole life and everything that I had experienced, the streets, the prisons, the gangs, the getting in trouble, the love at the age of 0 to 7. I understood. And what happened is at the age of 7, when I was broken and confused, and I had all that energy that I was just suppressing, I created an alter ego. And that alter ego stood in front of that little boy. And he said, this boy's never going to cry again. No one's ever going to make fun of him again. And the alter ego took over my life for all of those years. And I was angry. And I was to hear with the energy. And I would fight with rage. I would be on the streets. I was in gangs. I lived that life. I was that person, right? Sometimes people go, oh man, I can't believe that you're in prison. That's who I was. At the time, I belonged there. I'm a different man now. But I understood. I saw this alter ego. And when I recognized it, I knelt down and I started to hug myself at the age of 7. In my age, hugging myself. And just these words started coming through me. I love you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I've held you here. I love you. You are light. You are joy. You are happiness. You are the light of the world. And just this love and this is just pouring through me into this little boy. And I'm apologizing to him. I'm loving it. What I didn't tell you based on my father's lifestyle is that he died at a very young age. He died at the age of 47, much before this experience I'm telling you about right now. And as I'm hugging this little boy, and I'm telling him myself, I love you. You're the light. You're happiness. You're joy. I'm sorry. I love you. I started calling him son. I'm sorry, son. I love you, son. At the same time, I'm knowing, I'm like, this is not my son. This is me. Like, why am I calling him my son? But then everything shifted from me hugging him, and my father came behind me, and he started to hug both of us. And he was saying, I'm sorry, son. I love you, son. And I understood. I understood. And the next thing I know, we're all three standing there. And God is speaking to us. And those were his words the entire time. I love you, son. You're the light. You're the joy. You're the happiness. You're the light of the world. And all of this energy just came, and the healing came, and the understanding came. And I was prompted to put this little boy in my hand. He's standing next to me. My father disappeared, and the little boy landed in my hand. And I put him into my heart. And I took this breath, and my heart softened. And I realized that was when I realized my heart hardened back on the playground at the age of 7 when I created that alter ego. No one's going to laugh at me ever again, and I'm never going to cry. My heart hardened. It took that many years for my heart to soften. And then the little boy appeared in front of me, in front of the field. And I looked at him and I said, go. He was the one who needed to be free. The freedom that I saw was him saying, let me go. Let me be a kid. Let me have fun. Let's have fun. Let's be happy. Let's just enjoy life. And I said, go, you're free. And he started to go into the field. And he stopped. He turned around and he looked at me. And I looked at him and I was like, why is he stopping? And I said, no, that's me. That's why. It's my fear. I'm holding him back. The wall, me, this alter ego. And I said, you're free. You can go. And he ran into the field and he disappeared. And at that second is all of the understanding, like I said, from 0 to the age I was at that time. And God showed me. And he said, Raul, my son, life didn't happen to you. It happened for you. You had a loving young 0 to 7. And did you know that we're molded from 0 to 7? Everything, our culture that we receive, everything that makes our core is 0 to 7. And 0 to 7, I had a lot of love in my life. But then I was broken. So everything from the love, from the heartache, from the pain, from the gangs, from the streets, from the criminal, from everything, all the way to Stanford University, the wisdom gained from streets. You know what I didn't tell you? I like to give her credit. My psychology professor, she was a Native American practicing her Native American spirituality, dreams, and all this really incredible stuff. And she combined it with psychology. Talk about a shift in my reality and the change. So everything that I had learned, all the wisdom that I've gained, your wisdom is not common knowledge. Your wisdom is from your life experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. God said, go work with kids. Take everything you've learned, go into juvenile hall, and teach these kids what I've allowed you to survive so that they don't live the life that you lived. Because if I had known the things that I knew at that point, I would not have lived the life that I had lived. So I started doing that. I'm going to close here. I started doing that, sharing my story in juvenile hall, sharing my story in prisons, sharing my story at churches. Somebody said, hey, you should write a book. Take what you're speaking about, put it in a book. I took what I was speaking about, I put it in a book. And I teach that now. If you're speaking on stage, it should better be in a book. If you've written a book and you're not speaking, you need to be speaking and have them both. And then you become the coach. You become the know, the like, the trust. You build it up. Sharing your story. Sharing my story, people started coming to me. Oh, it's such an impact. Man, it's such an impact. Thank you for sharing your story. My life was just like yours, except different. Interesting. Your life was just like mine, but different. My life was just like yours, but different. What do you mean? Tell me. Like when I heard that over and over. Every time I do my talk, I'd have lines of people. My life was just like yours, but different. What does that mean? I don't get it. Because they would be like, well, I never went to prison and I had both of my parents. And they would tell me all these things and their life was nothing like mine. And I would be like, okay, what does that mean? Your life was mine, but different. And here's what I figured out. Here's the connection. Here's how you build know, like, and trust with people authentically. Emotional pain is emotional pain. Emotional pain is emotional pain. It doesn't matter what happened to you. The pain is the same. So when they saw my pain, they felt it. They could empathize with it. They knew it. They experienced it, even though it was different. And it would build a connection. And they would say, Raul, can you work with me? Can you work with my dad? Can you work with my daughter? Can you work with my son? And they started hiring me to be their coach. I never planned to be an author, speaker, or coach. They started hiring me to coach. Can you help me share my story? Okay, I have my story together. Now what? Well, I'm going to start putting these stages together. Tag talks. What are we doing? We're being transparent in our lives. We've accepted the things that we've done and we've lived, and we're helping people grow. So I started putting on these events, and all the celebrities and all the stuff I showed you earlier started coming and just blessed with all of this. And all of a sudden I have this whole company. and I'm working with people individually, and I'm working with entrepreneurs, and I'm showing them how to build know, like, and trust in your business and with your people, and improve your relationships with your kids, your family, your everything, everybody around you, your whole life, and in your business. I told you I was going to tell you about uh, how to become well-known in your industry as a real estate agent without just being new, if you're new, or even if you've been around a while, and you just haven't been able to build that connection. A lot of real estate meetings that I go to for many, many years, they're the same. And it's okay because people need to learn how to, lead generation. We all need to learn certain things about the industry. But a lot of the stuff that I used to see, and that's why like Lion and EXP brought me in to go speak at their groups, because I taught something different, right? And I said, listen, how do you become a 25-year real estate veteran who's getting all kinds of referrals if you've only been an agent 2 years? How, please tell me. And I said, you got to build the know, like, and trust, and you got to get out of the real estate circle. You need to be here, obviously, but you got to get in front of people who are not real estate agents, and not just people who are selling or buying. They're already selling and buying. You need to get in front of every stage, every group, every networking that you can, have a story put together that will build that know, like, and trust. Because people are going to have the emotional connection to you. And they're not going to, they're going to remember your name. They're going to remember the emotion more than anything. And they're going to be walking around, and they're going to go, somebody's going to say, hey, man, I'm trying to sell my house. I'm having a hard time. Hey, I'm trying to, buy a house, and I can't find anybody to help me. They're going to go, oh, I remember. I met this lady. I met this guy. They're really talk to them. You know how many real estate agents I come across every day? Every day? A lot. You know how many remember? Very you guys. Johnny's not an agent, right? But the with. So when they're going to remember you. And it doesn't matter if you've been in the industry for a month, a year, or 25 years, they're going to recommend you because you touched them. Learn to share your story the right way. I can teach you that. Learn to share your story the right way. Join us at our events. I got a couple of events coming up. I just launched, I've had this program for a while, and I'm doing a special deal for Johnny and Angel. I have a 1-year coaching program that I'm giving away for free. And here's how it works. Okay. I'm going to put the link in here. It's an online course. Okay. It's an online course. Everything. You get my books, my ebooks. You get a bunch of about videos of me teaching and training how to put your story together. You get templates, 4 different that you need. And then you also get a ticket to my event. You get a ticket to come and attend our events. If you're a speaker, there's opportunities to come and speak. We're going to be at SoFi Stadium on September 10th. And then in Newport Beach on September 20th. So there's opportunity to speak at both of those events, and we can talk more about that. If you're a speaker, if you want to put your talk together and get in front of a group and then get your video recorded, we put it on YouTube. If you Google my name, Raul Lopez Jr., you'll see all of my videos. I got video content from everywhere, corporate gigs, events all over the place. If you Google Tag Talks, you'll see everything we do, all of our speakers, and how we promote them. So this 1-year free coaching program that I'm talking about, the way it works is it's usually $3,000. So what I do is it's $997 up front, and then it's $200 a month. Okay. What I've done with Johnny and Angel here, because we're going to build this out for these special groups, is it's $997, but I'm deleting the monthly membership. There is no monthly membership. It's just $997. And that you get the course, and you get me twice a month coaching you as a group on putting your story together. And at some point, when this is a year program, so what I promise everybody that get into this program, at the end of the year, when you complete the entire course and you're 100% ready, I also give you stage time. If you want to be on stage before that, we can talk. I have programs, but you get stage time also. So it's only $997 for a year's worth of coaching. With me, we'll have special guests. We'll have a lot of incredible people on these calls. We've got a lot of you guys I can see or on our other calls in there, and you're already in. So I'm putting the link in there now. And honestly, our first call with this group starts today. It's at 2 p.m. Right? I do these calls Tuesdays, the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday of every month at 2 p.m. PST. And today is our first call. Everybody got their links and everything. It's going to be an incredible time of onboarding and just getting to know each other. But I'd love for you to join me. It's a year program. Between Johnny and Angel and the Cashflow Academy and all this incredible stuff that's being taught in here, we're just adding this to it, right? My call. So I'd love for you guys to join me. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to answer any of your questions. I don't know how much time we have left. Angel, I get passionate. I don't know if I went over,
Bro,
but I
you
love
you
people.
you did an amazing job. I want to share with everybody. And the reason I brought you is, I think I was probably 23, 22 years old. And I had trauma in my life, right? I don't know if you guys saw me, but I started crying when you told your story, bro. So, everybody has a story. And I think you know this when they say I was that story. I had one too. Bottom line is, here's what I'm going to say. We only had, I think, and I'm not, me and Patty had just moved in. We only had $2,000 in the account. This class, she signed up, it was $500. I was 22, 23. That was our rent money. And I didn't want her to go by herself. So I paid 500. And sometimes we got to pay for stuff. And I ended up costing me $1,000. I went and it changed my life. I figured out why that little boy that I was holding, just like you, hated my parents. My sister had a hole in her heart, and I didn't know. I was a kid, so I spent my life hating her growing up till I was 20, I think 23. Bottom line is that many of us have stories, and it's holding you back, and you don't know what it is. So you have to go through certain exercise to figure out why you blame yourself, why you are who you are. And when you go and hear someone like Raul, you might find out. And maybe you think you're perfect, because that's what everybody thinks. All realtors think they're freaking perfect. But you got some issues. We all have issues. I still have issues. I need to regroup. So I'm going to go, Raul, because when I heard you, I started thinking I'm the perfect guy. But as I'm sitting here, you actually made me cry again. I saw your video and I started thinking, damn, I'm good, but I think I still got some issues and I need to go. And how I heard is Johnny says, hey, we were on the last one. And Johnny said, people were crying. I go, this guy's not going to make me cry. You made me cry, Raul.
I
All
appreciate
right.
that, man. One of the things that I love about what I do is I started, teaching and training, like I mentioned back in juvenile hall, and it really was around just the understanding the brokenness side, right? It wasn't so much the speaking, and I do teach the speaking, but what I love about what I do is we have to get into what are your limiting beliefs to get your story out there. We have to understand what's blocking you. You have to know who you are, why you are the way you are, before you can get your story out there. Because if you haven't healed yet, you can't get out there and say your story, because it needs to be authentic. Like we're not BSing anybody here. We're sharing our personal story. We're combining it with who we are and what we do in business, and we're helping people. I help people help people. So it's very important to understand that my program, it's not just I'm going to teach you how to speak and that's it. I'm going to help you heal. Okay. I'm going to do something that I didn't do in Johnny's call. And I see we have 49 people here. Wow. Congratulations to everybody that's here today. I'm going to give you guys my phone number, my direct phone number. And I usually don't do this, but I've met a lot of incredible people through Johnny already, including Angel here. So my direct number is 916-11. Okay, most of you I think are in California. I'm in California. If you're on the East Coast, please don't text me at 7 o'clock in the morning, because for me it's 4. That happens to me sometimes. But what I want you to do is reach out, and I'll tell you why. I work with a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people. I'm on a lot of stages. I'm on a lot of Zoom calls. And some of the people that don't reach out are the people who need to the most, but they're scared. They're scared. They don't want to say. They don't want to admit. I mean, they're secluding themselves, like I told you I did at that young age, not knowing. You're not alone. You're not the only one going through the challenge you're going through right now. So if you don't want to sign up for a group coaching program, right? And I call it folding time, right? Fold time. I spent my entire life trying to figure this stuff out. If I would have got a coach, I would have fixed it in half. I would have figured it out in half the time. If you don't want to jump in a group coaching, because you don't want people to know who you are, why you are, the things that have happened to your life. At some point, you'll be okay with it, but call me and text me individually. I do things very privately. If there's something in your life, someone you know in your life that needs some help in what I do, I'll help you. Okay. And the course, the link that I just put there for the course, you do get my Heal the Boy and the Man Will Appears ebooks. You can also find them on Amazon, Barnes Noble, everywhere. If you do want to register, I do a lot of stuff with people one-on-one. I'll hand you a book, I'll sign it for you, and we can chat and we can talk. I'm here. I'm in Orange County. I just moved here, born and raised in Northern California. Like I said, I've been here about 4 or 5 months now, meeting great people, enjoying great people, and I'm happy to be part of this community. I'm so happy that I met Johnny. We met at a networking thing, right? Like you guys were talking about at the beginning of this call. You go to networking, you meet people, and things change. Next thing I know, I'm working with a couple of hundred people through your guys' network, and I'm helping, serving, changing people's lives in your personal life, in your relationships, in your money, in your business. It's what we do. So I love you guys. I thank you so much.
Thank
And I'm here
you,
for
bro.
questions. Anybody has questions, I'm here.
Hey, I'm gonna have to, because I have another Zoom to go on at 10.
Okay.
But this class is recorded. Someone asked if this is part of our course. No, what I do is when I bring people, and Raul, once again, I only saw your video. First time I saw you, and I thought, oh my God, you moved me. So I brought you to the community. And please, if anybody wants to reach out to him, reach out to him. Like I'm working with Johnny on bringing you in and being part of this community. Johnny has the Cash Flow Academy. This is the listing agent community, but we're always working together to help others and get you what you need, what you're looking for. So this is more community is, thank you for sharing that story. Johnny, I want to thank you too for all, you've helped a lot of our members, and I appreciate that. But if this is recorded, everybody, if you don't mind, if you can all, I got to get off. We're going to get off. If you can all say, thank you, Raul. Let him feel it. Tell him your energy.
Thank you, Raul. Thank you.
Click on the link. I'll be in the community. Click on the link. Register for today's call at 2 p.m. And I'll see you guys soon. I hope to see you all in person at one of our events and serving. Thank you so much. Blessings.